Hi everybody, Kathy Syrett from Confident Leader Journey here. Now, I'm going to talk about something I've already mentioned in one of the vlogs, but I'm going to show you how useful it can be in terms of leadership, leading teams, and building the tools and processes that are needed to confidently lead teams and lead departments. Okay? So, some of you may have heard me talk about the confidence wheel, and this wheel is useful for more than just looking at building confidence. Although essentially that's what it's all about. So let's say you've got a leadership role in an organization, and you're responsible for increasing the effectiveness or enhancing the performance of several teams and many people. After all, that's often what a leader's supposed to do, isn't it? Enhance the effectiveness. So one of the things that always gets in the way of being effective in a job or in a role for anybody is if there's a lack of clarity about what that role is and what I need to be able to know and do to do that role, and whether the rest of the organization is kind of designed to support it. So one of the things that makes it a lot easier to coach someone to be effective, to lead someone to be effective, to understand and how someone can coach themselves to be effective is to make sure that everything's in place and is clear for what that role is. So let me explain a bit more about what I'm talking about here. So some of you may have heard me talk about the confidence wheel. There's an image of it there on the other screen. Okay, and at the center of the wheel are the three pieces of the pie. You can just about see it. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you what the text is that's on there, which are mental, emotional, and physical confidence. Okay, because the difference between being able to do your job effectively and not is often how confident you are in doing it. If when you're doing your role, you're in your confidence zone, you're going to be making high quality decisions, you're going to be thinking clearly, and you are going to be making choices and choosing behaviors that will increase your effectiveness rather than get in the way of it. Okay? So, how do we get there? Well, the first thing is we need to be absolutely clear what knowledge this role requires. Because if you're put in a role, you don't know what you don't know. Right? So do I need to know this to do this job? Do I need to know that? Or I might assume I have the knowledge, but if somewhere it's not written down, here's the knowledge I need to be able to do my job, how do I know if I've got that knowledge? Okay. So knowledge is a key element of being effective. I can give you an example of this. If you're a salesperson, and you're selling products A, B, and C, then it's fairly obvious and intuitive to us that you need to have knowledge of those products. So you need to know what those products are. But that's not all you need to know, is it? You also need to know why those products matter to the customer. This kind of so what, if you like. You need that knowledge as well. And you also need knowledge of how to communicate that information to a customer. So you see, the knowledge piece of the requirements for the role isn't just needs to know the products, also needs to understand the so what of those products to our whole range of customers, ultimately, or the range they're interacting with, also needs to know how to communicate. Now, that might not even be as straightforward as just being able to tell a story. It might be knowing which questions to ask to find out if there's a need for that particular product. You meet a customer for the first time, you have no idea what they know. Do you have the knowledge of questions you can ask that will enable the customer to reveal that they need that product, or maybe they don't? Okay. So you see, that knowledge piece is a really important foundation. And if as leaders, we haven't clarified what knowledge is required for that role, then how can we make sure the person coming into the role either has it when they come in, so we're recruiting for it, or we have some training and learning in place for them to build that knowledge over time. So that clarity of knowledge required to do the role is really important for recruiting, for training, for effectiveness, and for ongoing coaching and development. So there's the knowledge piece of the role description, if you like, that's needed. So the second thing is I might have the knowledge, but do I have the skills? So what skills are required in the role? So for this, it's maybe a slight overlap. I might know how I'm supposed to communicate the information, but do I have the skills to do that? Do I have the skills to ask the questions? Do I have the skills to listen to the answers and interpret them? Do I have the skills to present my information confidently and in a persuasive way? Do I have the skills to connect with my customers so they feel comfortable and open up to me? So basically, what skills do I have? What skills would be required for this role? Then you can start thinking about how well am I doing those skills? And how can I practice them to get better? So again, in the role, are we clear what skills are needed? And have we equipped the person who's in that role with the skills that will enable them to be effective in that role? Quite often I go into organizations and the people are great, but nobody's helped them develop the skills that will make a genuine difference to their ability to do that role because nobody realizes that those skills are important. Yeah. I've talked before how often we just say, well, it's common sense to be able to do that. But when you think about it, most of our common sense is learned behavior that we've picked up from our parents and our surroundings. So we need to not be lazy as leaders. We need to look at the roles we're asking people to fill and really sit down and critically think through what's the knowledge that's needed to be effective in this role and what skills and level of skills are required to be effective in this role. Because if we know that, guess what? We can recruit for it and we can put training programs in place so that the people there will have the knowledge and have the skills and therefore they will feel confident and be performing at their best. Now, the wheel has three parts, I think I've mentioned before, and some of you may remember the third part is environment. So the knowledge and the skills are things the person has to have, but the environment around them has to support them in being effective in their role. So do the people, places, and processes enable them to be effective? So for example, if we're talking about the places, is the person geographically in a location where they can easily reach the customers they need to reach, okay, and do their job effectively? If someone's got a long commute, that might actually impact their effectiveness. How are we managing that? Okay. This is why some companies have gone to hybrid working because they recruited people from long distances away during COVID, and they still want to keep those abilities and capabilities in the organization. But asking people to commute in every day is going to erode their effectiveness significantly. In terms of people, have they got the support people they need? So, for example, I've started a new role recently. Some of you might be aware of that. And I've got people who I can literally ask any question of. Okay? There's several different people, and I know I can just go to them and ask any stupid question, and I won't be judged for it. Having people like that makes me feel much more confident doing my job because I know I'm not alone. I know I'm going to have the support to do my job. I also have my line manager who challenges me. He's my leader. And he challenges me and pushes me, which again, that's having a healthy relationship, which is going to help me be more effective. So people are critical. I'm sure we've all got examples of where people didn't help us to be effective. Be interested if you want to share some of those in the comments. So we've got places, we've got people. But here's the third part of environment that is critical and is something that sometimes we have control over. And as leaders, we can be working on these. Processes. Are the processes that are in place helping or hindering our team's effectiveness? And are there new processes we can put in place? And does every individual have the personal processes they need to be effective in their role? Interesting, isn't it? As a leader, one of my main roles is to use this wheel in partnership and collaboration with the people who are in the role and make sure we've got absolute clarity on the knowledge that's needed, the skills that are needed and to what level, and whether the people, places, and processes are helping or hindering that person in being effective in their role. This gives us a structure and a framework for then looking at effectiveness and identifying what are some critical things that will help this person be more effective in their role. And this is what turns into a very useful framework for leading teams to greater effectiveness and higher performance. If you're interested in the confidence wheel, it's on page 172 of my book, Complete Confidence, which this is what it essentially is. If you're not confident in your knowledge and your skills, and that the people, places, and processes are supporting you, you're not optimizing your team's effectiveness in the workplace. And as leaders, this is something we can use and we can do to help our teams and our individuals be more confident and more productive. Okay, so find me on Facebook on the Confident Leader Journey community. We share the blog link there as well, because there's a blog version of the vlog that goes up. And also you can find online the Confident Leader Journey website if you want to look on there and see what's available. We have a team working behind me who can support you in your journeys. And feel free to drop me a message on Facebook or send me an email if you've got any questions about any of this. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next vlog.